Going at 30. Wow, got TRC. Okay. Well, we are. And the humidity today is kind of off the charts. Yeah, all the windows fogged up and after and water. Crazy. No. Andre. Row six. Going on the bodybuilder. Oh, Chennai? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, she is very built, isn't she? Right. You wouldn't be able to tell looking at her. No. Here, like in regular disguises them really well, but in the gym clothes, oh, every muscle was just defined. Like, oh crap. Yeah, I wouldn't want to piss her off. No. It was, yeah, very, very well, very happy. Well, she participates in competitions and all that. Yeah, I mean, you can tell it's. Who showed me pictures? Crazy. Pictures of her. Yeah. Well, one of the main things. Yeah, I noticed that. I think it was just like some I think that's the Wilson Drive project, like the error. Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah. Police error. Yeah. Hey Bruce, do you have the application with you, or is that for this project? For this one? Oh, you got it? So I wanted to see if they put it, oh, no, that's here, the application. What would be the application? Hi, Benji. Hey, Russ. I need you guys to go my. That's yours, right? Yeah. Thank you. John. And, oh, you can still give it. You're the only one. Yeah, Benji. I'm the only one? Yeah. That's very good. Is he the homeowner? Yeah. Better call.
And the owners are gonna join via Zoom.
Sure.
Hey, Jeremy.
Good morning.
Morning.
How's Kurt?
Not better. He's not in today, so
Okay.
he thinks it's probably the salmonella, maybe from the eggs Benedict that he had.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, so. That was quite the show we had yesterday.
Yeah.
It wasn't. Eggs.
Something.
Would you mind sharing the presentation, Jeremy?
Yeah. Yeah. I'll pull it up.
Is everybody be online? So Eric's coming here. And then Alan Jane Davis is gonna be on. Online.
Yeah, you did ask me about that application. I'll do that.
But I just. I think on the size of the tree next to that screen, so it's here. It's like right there.
Yeah, it's on the survey.
Sure.
Was it a lore book or a live book? Live. Yeah. That can. It's pretty true protections.
Hold on.
There is a lot over here.
Like your three. Jeremy, is that Andy behind?
3D renders.
Yeah, Angie's behind me. Benji's on the screen.
I managed to, the blurry.
Yeah, Angie used to work with us. Hey, Al.
Hey there, how you doing? Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
So I think Eric's on his way, but we can wait or get started. Up to you guys. All right, well, I mean, I can start like with an introduction and that squared up way, so. Welcome to the TRC meeting, August 12th, just today. My name is Christopher Clement, you know each other. Just as a disclaimer for everybody that's joining online, so this is a staff level meeting, technical review committee pre-design meeting between applicants and city staff. So we're not an elected appointed board. Anything that's discussed today at this meeting may not be misconstrued as an approval, disapproval of any likes. So just to let everybody know about that. We have only one agenda item on today's meeting, which is 2107 North Street, request for some various alterations to the interior, but mainly what we're looking at today is also the exterior, including a construction of a carriage house, which would be phase 2. So with that, the applicant for this request is Mr. Benji Murillo with Frederick Architects. So just as an overview, the location at 2107 North Street is the zone T3 neighborhood district of T3N. It's located within what is regarded as the Glebe neighborhood in downtown Beaufort. The lot size is roughly 9,337 square feet, so it's a little over a fifth of an acre. The existing house is about 1,500 square feet in size. So with that, the applicant is proposing, for instance, a existing porch to be enclosed, a front porch to be added as a detached screened-in porch, and adding a walkway, courtyard to the side, walkways all around, I would assume, but Benji, feel free to kind of add on to that. And eventually construction of a carriage house in the rear of the property with an integrated garage. So currently there's a garage that would be then demolished on site at the rear, and a new carriage house to be built. So with habitable space, second floor. Would you like to add anything, Benji?
Yeah, sure. You want me to present our concept?
Okay, sure.
So, yeah, you picked up pretty much everything. So the carriage house would be phase 2. So right now, Eric was applying for the main house, like the screen porch. So
Correct.
we'll apply for the carriage house whenever we are ready for that. So I'm just gonna point.
Yeah.
So on this existing house, there's that back porch and the existing porch down here that we're enclosing. So doing that, we kind of ran out of outside space, so we added this courtyard just outside this, basically this existing porch now becomes a sunroom. It has all that arched, openings that we're gonna put windows and one door to, oops, I'm not gonna touch it, to come out and go down to the courtyard. So we're kind of running out of spaces for a screen porch. We didn't want to put it attached to the existing porch and, block some of that natural light that would come in with all those openings. And on the north side of the courtyard, we have, it's not showing on the, the survey because they're small trees, but they're pretty mature camellias kind of north here. So we're trying to preserve that as well. And then we don't really have much room for a screen porch up here because the carriage house is taking up, quite pretty much all that space. So the only really, cool location where we could put it is down here in the corner. And, the concept for that screen porch is basically having, a front porch, like a traditional southern front porch. And the idea is to, bring that concept here and to engage the street. And, and set up a couple of chairs and mingle with the neighborhood, whatever you do in the front porch. It actually worked out pretty nicely on this west side versus the east side, because having it in that corner, with the wall of the main houses would naturally bring some of that breezes.
We can also take a look at the 3D rendering. I think
Yeah,
it's
yeah, we could-
included in page, I think, Jeremy, 18, 19, somewhere around there. There you go.
So, yeah, so, it kind of engages, when we talk about engaging a street in this form-based code, I think this could be a successful interpretation of that. And, detaching it, just a little bit from the house, but still keeping it pretty close. And, kind of capturing that same details of the house with the arches and stuff. Our intention is to make it look like the main structure, but still kind of get these, airflows and light into this screen porch. So that's where we ended up with it. I mean, we could move it closer, slightly closer if we want to. And move it slightly away from the tree if there's roots. Right now, the tree roots, you can't see it. It seems like it'll be okay, but we could certainly look at it once we start digging for the foundation and stuff, and we could employ like cantilever slabs over the roots if we have to.
Okay.
But
Just kind of a quick question, touching on with the screen porch, what was there any particular reason for going for like this detached kind of style as opposed to a more traditional attached addition to the main house?
so the front door is pretty unique. If you go to the elevations, I think it's the only house in Beaufort. It's the only house in Beaufort that I know of that has an actual arch door. We have, rectangular doors with an arch transom, but I don't think I've ever seen one with an arch door. So it's kind of a pretty cool element that we're trying to preserve, and we really like that existing porch details. So we wanted to do that, and kind of take it to the other side and preserve that front entry as much as we can, while allowing for light on those existing windows. That bedroom, to the left of the screen, that's a bedroom. So we're trying to not have it in front of the bedroom, so you still have natural light on that bedroom as well. And keeping that airflow circulation on that screen porch.
Those arches are there already, right? So those.
Yeah.
those on the right-hand side.
Right, yeah.
That's the porch currently, right? So
Yes,
the openings are there now, but you will put in what, windows or screens?
Windows. And we'll match that exact brick detail that's happening on those openings. And we'll match the eaves of the roof and basically the same shingles and overhangs.
And to maintain that same white color brick, or is that?
Yes.
So I kind of forgot to introduce all the other members, but the way we have these TRC meetings that we kind of go around the table, staff members, so Bruce Skipper, our building official here, Jeremy Tate, contracted architect, historic preservationist. We have Mr. John Badgett, our fire marshal for the city, Nick Navia, fellow planner, who, by the way, will be taking notes and will be sending those out after the meeting to all of you. So we're gonna go around the table. Everybody's gonna kind of contribute, regarding either planning, zoning, or building code, or whatever fire code, fire safety concerns. Before we go around, I just want to say that within the T3 neighborhood districts of the zoning, just want to clarify some specifics regarding front setbacks, for instance, 15 feet, side setbacks, so primary and rear setbacks are 15. The side setbacks for the primary and interior are 6, just to let you know. Looking at the attached garage or detached garage and accessory buildings that are planned. For instance, the setback from the front facade, we're looking at that, we always have a 5-foot setback behind the front facade. But also our accessory structures section says that the accessory structures shall be located behind the front setback of the primary structure. So looking at the detached patio porch that you're proposing, that would be per code in accessory structure. So there is a setback requirement when it comes to setting it behind the primary building. Just to let you know, in section 241, which might be a concern. Other sections within the development code pertaining to accessory structures is section 311.2, where it talks about either covered open air structures like gazebo, trellises, but also the carriage house section in 4.5.3, where you have a maximum size, requirement of shall not exceed 50% of the footprint of the primary building. So the primary building is around 1,522 square feet. So that's about, 750, 760 at the most. So parking, per carriage house, 1 parking space is additionally required. It needs to be clearly defined where that's going to be put on site. In addition to the parking requirements for the primary dwelling, which are 2 per unit. So that brings you up to 3. Then we have a section regarding the specimen and landmark trees on site. There are a couple of live oaks around, the sides and the front, 40-inch live oak in the front, 20-inch live oaks on the sides. Back corner. They are preserved, so what the code says is reasonable design alternatives shall be explored to preserve those trees, which we have actually done. So just so that you know, there are tree root protection zone requirements when it comes to any constructions nearby those specimen landmark trees, to kind of protect the root zone from any impacts. You can find that in section 5.3. So just to put that out there, and with that, I would like to start with Mr. Skipper, if he has any comments.
Don't really have a whole lot, since we're kind of early in the review process. I would like to show the finished floor elevation of that little detached screen porch. That I didn't see it anywhere. Are you planning on permitting that structure? Technically, you're under the 200 square feet, so technically you could probably file without permitting. I would recommend you, so that way you have some oversight as far as into the construction process. Then the garage and the house finished floor elevations were shown. I'm going to consider the garage a detached structure, since this It doesn't seem to be, it's attached only by that small roof line, and that's not, in my opinion, I don't see the garage is really bearing or, really a part of that house. So I'm gonna consider that a detached, so that'll be a separate permit for that. Yeah, and is the generator existing, or is that gonna be something that's gonna be added?
It'll be added.
Okay, that's separate permit. Well, I mean, I guess you could. The generator, what was that? Is that part of the courtyard?
Yeah, it's in the service yard on the courtyard area.
Okay, and so it's gonna be part of phase one, or is it?
Yes.
Okay, well, we could probably include that into the, but just make sure we include that as part of the cost of construction and everything. The plans look good, so.
Anything on the interior that you've noticed?
Yes, I mean, like I say, I'll have plan review notes, but, I don't foresee anything. Any issue really. Just a comment every day. Plan review notes.
Can I respond about the permit?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so Bruce, when we turned in the permit application for phase one, which included the screen porch, the main house renovation and the generator, so we sort of assuming that would all encompass
Okay,
under
all right.
phase one.
Okay, well, if that's the case, we'll now look at that, great.
Okay.
Just make sure there's a maximum impervious lot coverage percentage. So if you look at not only roof areas, but also surfaces that are covered, impervious surfaces, that's gonna be 55% in that zoning district. So
Calculation on the front. There's 37.
that I would like to turn it to Jeremy. Jeremy, do you have anything?
Yeah. Hey, Benji, I think this is it's a great house to begin with, and I think the improvements that you're doing on the house itself are great. I would say on the kind of enclosing this porch, if you could just maybe clarify a few things. Number one, I think the more minimal that you can do with the windows, the better. So is this horizontal mullion, is it required by the window manufacturer, or could it be direct set against the awning window so we minimize that little horizontal structural piece?
Yeah, we could look at direct set,
Okay.
but concept was to have that bottom part operable, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And then obviously you're bringing the floor up to inside flush. So what's your kind of plan for this little panel area here?
So we were gonna, it'll be just like a hardy panel and we'll paint it, the window color.
Okay. All right. I think that'd be fine. I think the simpler the better. So it sounds like you're heading that way. That answers everything on the house itself. I think I'm gonna go ahead and jump also onto the little screen porch. I think it's a beautiful structure. I think Christopher's kind of covered the fact that the challenge is the fact that it doesn't really comply with the code, and the fact that it's a accessory structure that is in front of the primary house. And I think you answered, because I was going to recommend it quite simply, it would look beautiful also on this north side of the courtyard. You might have to realign your access point, but if you said you have some camellias or other plantings you're trying to avoid in this area,
Yes, yeah.
are they, it's hard for me to see that in the pictures. Are they fairly old camellias?
Yeah, they've been there, so they're pretty
Okay.
much.
Yeah, I think that your biggest challenge certainly is going to be to have something that's kind of approved in this front location. It's like I said, it's a beautiful structure. Um, I, I would try to look for other ways to not have it kind of in front. Certainly, if there was another way to fit it here, if you could transplant the camellias, and I don't have a green thumb, so I don't know if that is doable. The only other solution that I had was to somehow connect this to your front, right? So if I know what you said about the entry. I get it's a beautiful entry, but I didn't know if there was a way to consider this engaged here as this element that floats here and then somewhat mimic this stair to this side as long as you still met setbacks. If you attached it, it would not be an accessory structure. It would just be a screen porch added. But it could still have a similar form, and you could use this as kind of the hyphen connection into the house. Just something to consider, but I do think that's going to be your kind of a big challenge is to meet the intent of the code there with that accessory structure being detached in front of the house.
So,
Um,
so if it was attached by a wall, would that be enough as an attachment to you guys?
Well, then basically the prerequisites for attached structures wouldn't apply. So as long as you're within that front setback, which you are, you wouldn't have to bring it, where the code requires you to bring it behind the front facade of the primary structure. So making it part of the primary structure, that wouldn't apply anymore. So
Yeah.
as Jeremy said,
Yeah.
if you could attach it to that, I don't know,
Yeah.
what is that, a bedroom there in the front
Yeah.
left? If you attach it somehow to that and kind of incorporate it with the, with that front door, the stairs, and kind of attach it into that corner and make that like a front porch, a screen and front porch like that attached, then I think that's probably more doable than having it like that as a detached accessory structure, because that wouldn't.
yeah, and to keep the form of it simple, I was just proposing they attach it to the kind of the front of this gable entryway. So it would still sit, let me see if I can get back to that plan. So it would still kind of sit in front and you'd still have some gardening landscape. You wouldn't be impeding that window necessarily. Of course, you got a chimney over here. So
Yeah, yeah, I mean, and the only thing about that, well, we could certainly talk about it, we could discuss it. The only thing about that I'm not crazy about is you have to go through a screen porch door before you go through the actual front door.
correct. That's right. Yep.
But, yeah, so,
Bruce, would you say from a building codes perspective, connecting with just that wall, would that be sufficient for you to consider
I
it?
would say that'd be definitely a part of it. If you put it over that set front steps like that.
Well, how would you attach it, like just a map, like a roof that?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, they attach my foundation and all.
Okay.
What you were saying,
if-
Benji, you meant initially like just kind of adding like a
A
separate
wall
wall to like leaving
Like
it.
a, well, basically like back here in the back.
wall?
Yeah, like a
Yeah.
garden wall.
Yeah, so if you go back to that plan, so if we do like a garden wall, that maybe comes down here, and maybe even have an arch, or maybe even have like another, I don't know, kind of like keep it where it is, but attach it, visually
Yeah.
from the outside with that.
I think I'd be willing to buy it. I mean, it's just a screen porch. It's not like it's a bedroom or a kitchen or
Right.
something.
Yeah.
Let a brick arbor or something, in between so you could walk through,
Yeah.
something just to make a connection.
'Cause I'd be fine if Bruce, if building codes is fine with that interpretation, I would be too.
Yeah.
Because again, it is a good structure and it does make
Yeah.
sense.
Yep.
Kind of getting around that relatively strict code requirement.
Mhm.
And similarly too, I guess just kind of add on, because I have some comments here too. Just touching on the carriage house, my initial comments were to kind of discuss the detached or attached nature of it. But since Bruce also kind of similarly clarified that walkway alone wouldn't consider it attached, we would be, I'd be fine with considering it a detached ADU so that you can maintain the accessory structure setbacks of 5 feet instead of having to comply with that 15 but main house structure. So at least with the carriage house, I'm fine with that. And yeah, from a building codes perspective with the screen porch, if we can consider that attached, then
I don't see any kind of reason why we couldn't.
What is the overall height of the carriage house in feet?
I have it,
Hey, Benji, that's one of my comments. I set the scale on this and measured it. This is going to be close, but I think the ridge of the main house to I think it was garage level was a consistent measurement. It's like 21,
yeah.
21 feet 8, something like this, and this was just about 24 feet. And I wondered if you could just decrease the pitch of the roof with the goal of trying to get a foot to 18 inches off the height, which would put it within 10% of the front house. I wouldn't say, because I wouldn't lower any of your floor heights because you're already kind of minimum there, but if there's a way to reduce the pitch of that roof.
Okay. We're trying to match the pitch, but, so what does it need to be?
Well, I think it would just, if you could get it within 10% of the height of existing, there's no code requirement for that. It's something, and I know this is not the historic district, but I know that within the historic district, there's a lot of talking points about compatibility and trying to get within 10% when you're doing an addition or an actual separate structure subordinate, and it needs to be subordinate to the front house. I think you're in a very great historic adjacent neighborhood, and I think if you can find any way to creatively reduce the visual scale of that carriage house, that would be encouraged for sure.
Yeah.
The only, go ahead.
That's a little overbearing in comparison to the existing structure.
Yeah.
Twice.
Yeah, we could look at that.
The other things that I had on the carriage house really just related to, again, compatibility with the front house. That's under that carriage house section that was referenced in 4.5.3. You're showing some brick columns here, and it's probably better to see it from your 3D visual. And I think I like the brick because it does tie back to the house, but I think what begins to bother me is the way it terminates on this side with the arch, and then it terminates against that garage, and you have siding, from here all the way back around to it on this side. And I didn't know if it's better to just eliminate the brick altogether and make that just be part of your hardy trim package, or if you want to keep it as a transitional element, do you just extend that brick at the first floor all the way around back to this point and and then take this horizontal band kind of around until it transitions as needed at this porch and just let it be brick to siding? Does that visually help reduce the scale, and does it help tie the addition of the carriage house to the house to some degree? And of course, color is going to help, right? So the color on the house being maintained and whatever color you do here would also help.
Are there any questions for Jeremy?
No, I think, yeah, that makes sense. We were trying to, have that carriage house. Yeah, at first we had that all brick, but we were trying to make it like a secondary structure whilst
Right.
tying into that main house. So yeah, you did mention it where we are bringing some of that brick in there. And we're also trying to keep the costs down. So we're just trying to limit the brick where it made the most sense, and adding, that brick band on the whole entire or first floor area, might bring costs back up. And, we're facing this out because of the cost. So we'll look at it when the time comes, but if if that's just a recommendation, or would that be a requirement, that
From my standpoint, it's a recommendation because you're in, I mean, you're in the T3 end zone, but because it's a carriage house, that's really the only part of chapter 4 that kind of applies. And it's just that section in there that talks about compatibility with so I think give some study, and see where that goes. I did have one more thing I just thought about. It's a minor thing, but it does relate to the carriage house. The pitch of this roof coming in at that window seems tight and seems like a very hard thing to flash. So just consider that pitch of that roof, or I don't think you want to do anything with the height of the window, but if you can lower that, give yourself about 6 inches below that window, you'll have a less maintenance on that long term.
yeah, no, that makes sense, yes.
Yeah,
Thank you, Jeremy.
thanks.
All right, I'll turn it.
Thanks, Jeremy.
John.
I just have one question. Is this gonna be a primary residence or is there potential for leasing or renting rooms out?
Al, you correct me if
Yeah.
I'm wrong.
Yeah, I can answer that question. This is going to be primary residence. Right now, we live in Leesburg, Virginia, and the idea is that in about a year or two here, when this is finished, we're going to be selling our property here and moving down to Beaufort full time. And so the idea is to, from the money standpoint, is that that second phase of carriage house was to, we would be down there when that's being built. And then the idea there is just to be able to have something, this is going to end up being a 2-bedroom house. So the idea is that with family and friends, we wanted to have a place for them to come. And I like to toy around in garages. So it's kind of nice to have a little bit of a place to be able to have projects and things like that going on. So that was the idea for the little bit size on the garage.
I don't have any more questions. Good deal.
I did reach out, usually we have Jason Hedrick, McCormick Taylor, our stormwater engineer. He has nothing to comment, because stormwater management provisions start with, disturbed area over 5,000 square feet, which is not the case here. For Jasper Water and Sewer had no comments either. So just make sure you have, the availability of water there and get in touch with them, but otherwise you should be good to go, I guess. I mean, the next step, if you want to bring it back to the TRC level for revisions, you can do that, but you're not, you don't have to. Would be to apply for a major permit, project permit application. Is that correct? Is that a project permit application?
Well, we got one already.
Oh, you already have
Yeah,
one.
we just need to revise details,
Yeah.
the screen porch, and kind of, I guess, touching on that too, since it seems like if we can do that garden wall, we should be good with the location of it. Just kind of touch with the tree root protection zone for the 30-inch live oak there. So I've just got some things here I'll kind of read out for it. So we will require a tree root protection zone. I know you guys are already showing that, you're wanting to save the tree, which is great. With a 30-inch live oak, since the calculation is circle the radius of a ½ foot per inch of diameter at breast height, so you'd be looking at about a 15-foot tree root protection zone. However, with that being said, there are certain adjustments and exceptions to that, which I think you'll likely be able to meet with this. But the other thing too is if you can show that tree root protection zone on the site plan as well, that's one of the requirements we have for these specimen and landmark oak trees.
Well, there were some protection measures in there, right? You had some tree protection, what is that?
Yeah, so that's
like a fence, it's
tree
like.
protection fence.
Yeah, my recommendation with that would, again, just a recommendation, but it would probably be a good idea to get a certified arborist to kind of, make sure you're just complying with the tree protection requirements. All that information is found in section 533 in the code. We'll kind of include that here in our summary. But I guess just to quickly read off the adjustments and exceptions for that is the size and the shape can be adjusted where any of the following occurs, so root pruning, root invigoration, restoring the natural grade of the soil, a wane feeder, porous paving materials, and or a tree well. Those are generally not recommended. And it may be adjusted as needed to accommodate construction practices. With that being said, that reduction may require some additional remediation measures, just so that you're still compliant with that. And again, in here, it recommends, that it's performed by a certified arborist prior to any site disturbance.
So the arborist can tell us if we can do any of those items.
Exactly, yeah. If you get a good arborist, they should really be able to kind of make sure that that's being met. Yeah, that's all I have to add to it.
Yeah,
So really, we're waiting. Are you gonna try to update your plans based on the comments?
Yes.
Okay. So,
I think for phase one, really, since kind of screen porch is the main thing, including that connected wall of some way to connect it to the main house so that we can consider it not detached.
I think we could turn this around pretty fast, but would that hold up the permitting? I guess it would.
yeah,
Okay.
that's why I was wanting to make sure that I was clear on, is it proceed as current drawing show, or sit tight till you make a couple of tweaks on the plans and then,
I guess if we proceed, just won't include the screen porch. Take it away, I'll do that. I mean, we don't want to take it away, but if we proceed with getting the building permit, we can't include it. We'll have to take out the screen porch from the permit, right?
No, I think you just need to show that connector. If you
Yeah.
show that connector, I think
Okay.
that's all he needs.
yeah, I'd prefer to have all of your tweaks that,
Okay.
because there was some other stuff that I thought you had. No, I think that was the carriage house. He was talking about dropping that roof line and flattening out the roof line a little bit. So, yeah, just whatever adjustments you need to do on phase one, I would recommend, let's get them ahead, so we don't have to do a change at the end. At just time I get done with them, we'll be coming in here with a change, so I'd rather take a day or two and get the plans 100%, and then we can fly through the plan review at that point.
And with those changes, they wouldn't need to submit a new application form.
No, I'm thinking I'm fine with the application itself.
Yeah, we can just.
Because it actually shows the, after, correct me, it shows the screen porch as part of it, so yeah, let's go, we can move forward on that application there. I don't think you have to touch anything there.
so change.
Yeah, just tweak, whatever tweaks you need to do on the plans itself, and then we'll be ready to go. And,
So I'll just get with you, Alan, we could discuss it and then we'll resubmit it.
That sounds great. Jane and I are available, this week. So if you want to give us a time when you're available to go through some of these, that'd be great.
It was Alan?
Al.
Alan, do you have any questions for us before we?
No, this was very educational. So thank you and great comments. And we knew the screen and porch, we were trying really to match the house. And I think the other thing that was not mentioned is that, the kind of the breezes off the water are coming down that street to some degree. And we kind of wanted to catch that. And that was one of the reasons why we wanted to get that screen and porch in the front of the house if we could. In the back of the house, you don't get those breezes quite as nice. And then also it's well shaded by all those live oaks. So it's, that was one of the reasons we kind of wanted to have it there. So, but no, this is great. I don't have any additional questions, and I'll work with Benji and get back with you.
Okay, all right, looks good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you. Benji, good to see you yesterday.
See you, Jeremy. Thanks, guys. Thank you.